The bottom line is that on this side of the Berlin Wall, Herr Krentz's government is lurching from crisis to crisis. On this side, Herr Kohl is facing massive problems too.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're taking a look at 10 moments in history after the year 1900 that had the greatest impact on humankind.
What the Earth scientists are proposing is absolutely extraordinary. It's the most astonishing event, certainly in human history.
The launch of Sputnik.
A man-made celestial body for the first time in history overcame terrestrial gravity and flew into space.
Less than half a century after the Wright brothers invented the airplane, humanity began sending objects into space. When the Soviet Union launched their Sputnik satellite into orbit, the eyes of the world were lifted upwards to the stars.
Sputnik's technology was primitive, a rudimentary sphere with a simple radio transmitter that beeped.
The space race began as the US and Russia competed to develop newer and better spacefaring technology. More importantly, Sputnik was just the first of thousands of satellites sent into orbit. Global positioning, cell phones, television, and the internet are just a few of the ways satellites are integrated into the 21st century. Satellite surveillance and positioning are key parts of intelligence gathering and military campaigns. Accurate weather forecasting relies on satellite surveillance. Data from satellites are even used for crop management.
Today, the global satellite industry is a $208 billion business. But that relatively small number belies how rapidly our dependence on satellite technology continues to expand.
The Treaty of Versailles.
The Great War started 1,797 days ago. In a few hours, it will be over. The Treaty of Versailles will be signed.
The 20th century was the first that, from the very beginning, saw the rise of globalized international relations. The Treaty of Versailles ended World War I, utterly resculpting the world order. That single document would have profound impacts for the next 100 years. The treaty dismantled entire empires, redrawing borders in Europe and the Middle East. It imposed punitively harsh reparations on Germany, leading to decades of economic hardship and political instability. In their desperation, resentment turned to rage and bigotry as they sought comfort in the arms of autocracy under Adolf Hitler.
On the 30th of January 1933, Hitler became the head of the government. His aim: establish a pan-German racial state and abolish the unjust diktat.
While intended to secure lasting peace, the treaty instead laid the groundwork for a second, more costly world war. The treaty's lasting legacy profoundly reshaped the global political landscape well into the 21st century.
It would take another world war, another 40 million dead, for the world to start to learn how to make peace.
September 11th attacks.
The unthinkable happened today. The World Trade Center, both towers, gone.
The September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center and Pentagon radically shifted geopolitics forever. In the wake of the end of the Cold War, the West had shifted into the complacency of a 90s boom. One renowned philosopher even called the era, quote, the end of history. Yeah, not so much. The US and its allies soon invaded Afghanistan.
By liberating Dana, we free the local populace from the influence of the Taliban. They're able to go about their daily lives.
A smaller coalition followed up with another invasion into Iraq, and decades of conflict and turmoil ensued, and are still ongoing. 9/11 had so many repercussions on both individual lives and collective world history.
The job of a president is to protect the American people from harm. And some presidents don't need to worry about that, and some do. And it turns out I was one that did.
A possible Anthropocene.
Many scientists claim we're now living in a new geological epoch. Because long after we're extinct, the scar of our existence will be visible in the sedimentary rocks that form the foundations of a new world.
Scientists in the late 20th century first began to discuss the possibility that human activity was changing the Earth's geology and ecosystems in empirically measurable ways. They proposed that the scientific community universally adopt that the Earth has entered a new geological era. In 2024, the International Commission on Stratigraphy shot down the idea.
What will tomorrow look like? Our world is at its limits, and yet we all want more.
Still, its discussion has helped scientists around the world recognize human impact. From altering atmospheric composition through greenhouse gas emissions to widespread biodiversity loss, human actions have changed the planet in ways unprecedented in geological history. The Anthropocene's acknowledgement has also galvanized global efforts in environmental conservation, sustainability, and climate policy.
The scale of what humans have done is sometimes so big, you have to freeze a moment in time to really see it and really understand it.
The fall of the Berlin Wall.
Elsewhere, they were swarming over the wall, hacking at it with hammers, picks, and chisels, clawing at it with bare hand.
In retrospect, the collapse of the Soviet Union was likely all but inevitable after the death of Leonid Brezhnev. Still, the fall of the Berlin Wall 7 years later was the symbol of that collapse. It represented an end to Cold War divisions between East and West. For nearly 3 decades, the wall had stood as a physical and ideological barrier between communist East Berlin and capitalist West Berlin.
Ein Grenzübergang, der normalerweise nur für Westberliner und Bundesbürger in die andere Richtung, nämlich in die Richtung nach Ostberlin, bestimmt ist. Dieser Grenzübergang wurde heute in die andere Richtung geöffnet.
Its demolition accelerated the inexorable dissolution of the Soviet Union and the collapse of communist regimes across Eastern Europe. In the wake of this change, a new world order was established, dominated by liberal democracies and free market economies. But later, authoritarianism from China and Russia also gained footholds in developing nations and economies.
They were at the door shouting, "The wall is open, we walk through the wall."
The day the wall came down will be the most joyful days of my life.
The Great Depression. In 1929, a stock market crash on Wall Street spread economic contagion around the world.
Wherever you looked, boys and girls were, men and women were wondering what was ever going to happen to them.
The Great Depression was a moment of great change for the world. Widespread economic suffering and hunger led people to rethink the role of government in their lives.
I remember looking behind the markets, the garbage cans, looking for head lettuce.
Some, like the U.S. with the New Deal, turned to a variety of governmental social welfare systems. Governments were acknowledged to have responsibility to create a social safety net. Other countries turned to the lures of totalitarianism and fascism. They used force and terror to rebuild their empires. This tension between authoritarianism and egalitarianism still defines geopolitics in the 21st century. COVID-19 outbreak.
Cases are now accelerating rapidly.
335 people have died from coronavirus. That's 6 times more than last week.
In the fall of 2019, rumors began to bubble up in the US and Europe about a new flu-like virus in China. No one could have predicted the global devastation that followed. By early 2020, COVID-19 had spread across the planet, leading to widespread lockdowns, crippled economies, and disrupted daily life.
In a further effort to contain the spread of the virus, the government also increased testing capacity. Germany didn't want to make the same mistakes as France or Italy.
Businesses closed, millions lost jobs, and supply chains faltered. Worse was the human suffering. The pandemic claimed over 1 million lives in the US and at least 7 million globally, with some citing 15 million deaths. The psychological impact was also profound. Fear, isolation, and uncertainty took a heavy toll on mental health. The world was forever changed as the virus reshaped how people work, connect, and view public health.
Don't delude yourself into thinking only the old will die or will get it. They're all ages.
The invention of the internet.
The internet and the information age it sparked has created a seismic shift that completely changed how we live and communicate.
Human civilization is now in its 2nd generation of the internet age. Young people today may have difficulty fully understanding just how much the internet has changed the planet. People in India can video chat in real time with someone in London. Students in South Africa can connect with counterparts in China on social media. The world is smaller and faster than it was 50 years ago. International business now happens at the speed of thought. Political movements have become global.
Though it has become completely ubiquitous, few saw the internet coming, and no one could have predicted its impact.
Unfortunately, dangers have spread like wildfire too. Misinformation, propaganda, and conspiracies can now circle the world before the truth wakes up in the morning. Love it, hate it, or both, there can be no doubt. The 21st century is the century of the internet.
All while connection speeds ramp up exponentially. The question now becomes, what could possibly be next?
The Holocaust. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it.
I saw the word Auschwitz.
The doors opened. Terror hit us immediately.
In the modern era, where an estimated 1 in 5 young Americans don't believe the Holocaust happened, this statement still rings true.
We've seen entertainers like Kanye West share anti-Semitic tropes. Even former President Trump had dinner with a prominent Holocaust, denier.
The Holocaust during World War II was Germany's monstrous, systematic, state-sponsored persecution and mass murder of millions of Jewish people, as well as other groups the Nazis targeted.
Hitler ordered a rounding up of Jews, as well as other groups he hated, including gay people, Roma gypsies, and people with disabilities.
It taught the world that turning a blind eye to human rights abuses has horrific consequences. The UN passed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, after the war. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. Invention of the assembly line.
Relief man passing. Relief man passing.
The assembly line was arguably first invented in 1901, but most famously implemented by Henry Ford in 1913. It sparked a global revolution in manufacturing by streamlining production processes. This drastically reduced both the time and cost of making goods. By the middle of the 20th century, the assembly line was the cornerstone of the efficient mass production of standardized products. Prices plummeted, allowing a wider pool of consumers to access goods.
In 1910, Ford opened the 60-acre Highland Park plant and set up the machinery on the shop floor in the actual sequence of automobile production.
It reshaped labor practices, creating specialized roles and repetitive tasks. The assembly line played a crucial role in creating a global marketplace, enabling economies of scale. This shift in production laid the foundation for modern consumer culture. Today, virtually every consumer product, from cars to electronics, was likely created on an assembly line.
It saved enormous amounts of wasted motions, and it brought an enormous reduction in the cost of making Model T.
What part of history are you most interested in? Let us know in the comments.
If you can make something as complicated as an automobile on an assembly line, the reasoning goes that I ought to be able to make toasters and phonographs and other things which should be much simpler.